What is a pence anyway? Is a pence a penny, or is it like
a penny. They came in. You had halfpennies, which was half a penny. You had a penny, which was a big round thing, maybe an inch across. Then the next one up was threepence, which was 3 pence, which was a weird multi-edged thing. I don't know how many edges it had, but weird. And it was small and brass, really unusual looking thing, very British looking for some reason. And then you had the sixpence, which was silver, had some silver in it, and was smaller than the threepence, and quite small. And then you had the shilling, which was 12 pence. And then there was a farthing as well, which went away before I was bothered about it. A farthing was a quarter of a penny. Okay. And then you had I think you had a 2 shilling bit, which was slightly bigger than a shilling. A shilling was bigger than a sixpence, and slightly bigger than a threepence. God, this is all I'm dragging all this up from. How long ago is it now? We went decimal, 1970, for goodness sake. And then you had so that was the 2 shilling. Then you had a crown, I think, which was 2 and 6. So a crown was, is that right? Gosh, I'm dredging up the memories now. Or was a crown? Yeah, that crown was half a crown. Sorry, half a crown was 2 and 6. 2 shillings and sixpence. And then there was the crown, which was 5 shillings. And then you got to, after 5 shillings, you got to the note. So there was 10 shillings, which was a fortune in those days. It was a red note. And then there was the pound, which if you had a pound, you were absolutely minted. One day, me and my friend were round at the shop and we found a 10 shilling note, or as it used to be called, a 10 bob note. Shillings were known as bobs. So we had a 10 bob note and we went to the shows, the two of us, and we spent the evening at the shows and still had change. We knew we had to spend most of the money because our parents would ask us, where did you get that money, if we turned up with it? So we went to the shows and the two of us, that's 50 pence, which is about, I suppose, 50 cents, something like that. And we spent the evening at the shows riding all the rides, buying all the toffee apples. Cotton candy and stuff like that. You know, went back home about 10 o'clock at night, absolutely covered in sticky filth from the shows, and filled up with toffee apples and all the crap that we could buy. Where have you been? Nowhere. That was the days when parents didn't care where their children were. It was just like, well, he's about somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. He's still alive and he's unarrested.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's funny. I always get a headache when I think about the way money gets divided in the UK. You know, like, because over here, probably because money came along such later in history, like it was much more mathematical, right? Like we have a dollar, we have a quarter, which is a quarter of a dollar, 25 cents, and we have a dime, which is 1/10 of a dollar, or 10 cents.
10 cents, yeah.
And we have a nickel, which is 5 cents. And we got rid of our pennies a decade ago, so we don't do pennies. We don't do 1 cent anymore.
Well, we are decimal as well. So we went decimal in 1970, I think. So I'm talking about when we found that 10 bob note. I was only 8 or 9 at that point. So it's a long time ago. But yeah, we have a similar system now. We have I think the lowest denomination we have now is a penny. But I don't know if anybody uses them. We have a 2 pence, then a 5 pence. Then a 10 pence, 20 pence, 50 pence, and then pound coins, because all the notes are there's no notes for that, and then the £5 is our first note, and they're all made of plastic, all the notes now. So yeah, I guess the world is kind of coming together on that one. I mean, it does make sense. I mean, shillings were just 12 pence in a shilling, gee whiz, and 20 shillings in a pound, but 21 shillings in a guinea. Christ on a bike. So all the posh shops used to charge, it wasn't, the prices weren't in pounds, they were in guineas. So if you're buying a fancy suit, it would be 20 guineas, and you'd be like, but how much is that in pounds? Well, 20. Oh, so it's really another pound. Yeah, so you have to work it all out. And then when we went from the old imperial system to decimal, the conversions that went on were just insane. It was just, I remember that. I remember my parents and grandparents being extremely confused. Yeah, great days.
That's still happening, right? Here in Canada, we've been in metric since what, the 70s, and yet people still people still refer to their weight by the pound or their height by the inch in the foot.
Yeah, we are the same here. We
Like,
had when we were in Europe, we had this thing where it was all to go to metric, so it was all kilograms and kilometers and all that. But I think since we left Europe, that's kind of lapsed, because I'm hearing a lot more about pounds and ounces and things like that, which doesn't. I'm with the metric. I know what a kilogram looks like. I could tell you whether something was a kilogram or not. But a pound, I'm not quite sure if I know exactly how to work out what a pound looks like.
yeah, for me with weight and temperature, I can flip flop back and forth, probably because of just being from North America and what I do for a living. Because appliances are usually measured in Fahrenheit. So like people cook, they bake at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, not 177 degrees Celsius.
All right, you know your numbers there, man.
Yeah, so I'm always having to bounce back and forth depending if I'm dealing with someone who prefers Celsius or Fahrenheit. So it's,
yeah. Here's a question you might know the answer to. Then I was thinking about this the other day, but I didn't do a Google search, so you can be my Google search. Fahrenheit and centigrade obviously are different values. What is the value where they meet, where they have the same value? There must be a point where they have the same value.
negative 40 degrees Celsius.
Is that
negative
it?
40 degrees Fahrenheit? Yeah,
Negative 40. Right. So if someone says it's negative 40, it doesn't matter what scale you're on.
It's fucking cold.
Yes, if it's negative 40, you're in trouble, mate. I hope you're wrapped up warm.
You know where I learned that? I was on an airplane. I was on an airplane, and the captain said the exterior temperature outside the cabin is negative 40 degrees Celsius and negative 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And I was like, I was like 12 years old or something. And I was like, what does that even mean? How can that be possible? And my dad goes, oh, that's where they converge. You didn't know that? And I was like, well, I do now.
Yeah, well,
Clearly.
I've learned something today thanks to your dad.
There you go. You know what's really weird? I remember the name of the captain that said that on the airplane. His last name was Beaver. Captain Beaver.
Captain Beaver.
Yeah.
Have you ever written anything or included him as a character in anything?
No, I haven't. I just remembered his name now because I remember him. I can't remember if it was like it was an anniversary or he was retiring. Like there was something special about that flight. Like it was his last flight or represented something special for him. And he brought it up. Like it was like this.
Wow.
Like he and he shook everybody. He said goodbye to everybody as they were getting off the airplane and thanked them for being on the plane.
I'm looking up Captain Beaver. There must be a Captain Beaver. There's a TV miniseries from 1976 called Captain Beaver.
That's nice.
Is that him? No, can't be him.
No. Well,
Captain
mind
Beaver.
you,
There's a bunch of Captain Beavers. I don't know how you would spell
wanted-
Beaver. Whether you would spell it with an A or double E. That's the thing.
well, the EA is the Canadian mascot, right? That's our animal, the beaver.
Yeah.
It's on our. He's on the 5-cent coin, the beaver.
Right.
On the nickel. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you've got to commemorate that. That guy's name stuck with you for a reason.
Probably, or I have a broken head, and I remember. Things I
Well, that's the other possibility, of course. Broken head syndrome. Yeah. Why do I remember these things and not these other things? Yeah, that would be broken head syndrome, right enough.